Well, hi, thanks for talking to me again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
So I've
you.
watched the new episode. I know Brandon's not here, but I'll ask you some
That's all
questions
right.
about that. So obviously he plays your father, but you don't necessarily interact. But that being said, did the two of you kind of talk about building that relationship, or did you not need to since you didn't actually, like I said, interact directly?
Well, we didn't talk about it, and here's why. And it was actually kind of cool how it worked out because parents and children have different stories for the same things because
Yeah.
they understood them as different things. So the point of the episode in a lot of ways and in this moment in their relationship is he was doing the best he could with his understanding of things.
Hmm.
And I had a very strong story that I had told myself about what the truth was my entire life.
Yeah.
And then that got challenged. So the fact that we had different stories was actually the point.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, I get that.
it was cool to come in different and then realize, oh, that's not, you know what I mean? That's not the truth.
Yeah,
That
you
was just
don't
how we
necessarily
experienced.
want it to be the same. I get that. I get that. Is there any possibility that he's ever going to come back though and play? Well, I mean, he's kind of young, I guess, to play your real life father, but in present. But is there any possibility that have they talked about that or anything?
I mean, it's totally a possibility. I don't know if they've really specifically talked about it yet. I mean, I'd love to see it happen in season 2 because at the end of the day, that leap didn't change his decision, and he and their relationship up until now
Right.
would not be affected. But moving forward, it absolutely would. And
Yeah,
she
I
now
think
has
on
to see
her,
her dad.
I was going to
Yeah.
say her point of view of it definitely changes after that.
Absolutely. And clearly he loves her. So it was never a love problem. It was a choices problem. And
Right.
he just did the best he could with what he thought were his choices. So now she gets a choice. And I hope the show has time to explore that because Brandon is lovely.
Yeah, he was great in it. So I don't know. I'm assuming it's probably not a real ship, but what can you talk about working on the set, or was it a real ship? Is I
It
guess the
was a
second
real ship.
question. Oh wow, okay, cool. So what
We
was it like
filmed
filming on that?
It was so cool. We filmed on the USS Iowa down in San Pedro. Some of them were set. So we had a couple of the stages, the scenes were done on sets that we built on the stages. Our set team, I mean, the set deck is just
Mhm.
spectacular on the show. So yes, like some of the things were, but I mean, the battleship was awesome. We
Yeah,
had
so I
so
wondered.
much fun. And it informs so much. How does it smell? The size of it, like the vibe, the sounds. Those are things you can't, as an actor, you try to create for yourself, but then it's just taking up brain space. Where you're on it, you're just like, oh, I can just live in this. And it was so great.
Okay. Now I want to ask you about your relationship with Ben on the show. My other writer had this question. It's about the trust that they have because Janice tells her that to some extent Ben can't trust her, and I assume this is partially, knowing the future ahead of time can affect it type of thing, and at least that's my guess. But if he can't trust her and tell her things, and she shouldn't tell him things, how much can they like trust themselves in that sense with what they're supposed to say and not supposed to say? Can she trust herself? Is she worried about that?
I think she is because she still doesn't know what the problem is. So is this a you can't trust yourself because you are part of the problem? Is this a you can't trust yourself because you will react in a way that will make the problem worse? Is this a you can't trust yourself because of just the fragility of time?
Mhm.
So it's so interesting where she constantly has to keep getting pushed back to like, I just have to keep him alive. And the rest, she has to trust that the rest will start to reveal itself in its time. Because right now, if she worries about all of that, they might mess up a leap and they don't get home. She like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So yes is the answer. Is trust is a constant issue, and trusting yourself and each other is a theme on this show. Obviously Ian's character just had their whole journey with that, and we'll continue to have a journey with that. And we will continue to have that kind of journey all the way through episode 18, which I'm really excited about. But at the end of the day, her main focus is bringing him home. And that's what she constantly has to come back to.
True. Now you mentioned Ian, and I did want to ask about that. Have there ever been a conversation if maybe Addison would leap? I mean, I know right now, obviously that's not going to happen, but if you find out in the future their character has maybe leapt, that I don't know, have they discussed that? Has there been any possibility of that or anything?
That is all dependent on what future it is that they're dealing with.
Yeah, that's true. If your character did get to leap though, what period would you like on the show, not in your real life, but as a character, what period do you think it'd be fun for her to visit?
Oh, like early days of space travel would be so interesting. Just because there was so much going on especially in America at that time. The Vietnam War, just because that's a very near and dear to my heart with, my father is a Vietnam veteran. And so I understand, like, that's why this episode in particular was so special, because I got to have an intergenerational conversation of veterans, which is something that I lived through, right? Like my dad was in Vietnam, I was in Afghanistan. So I understand the ripples that go out through generations and what it means to families and what it does to families sometimes, for good or for bad. And so that would be particularly interesting to me.
Okay, well, cool. Maybe someday, hopefully.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you're allowed to tease about what's coming up after this episode?
I mean, it's going to get big. It's going to get exciting. It all starts to reveal like what's been at play this whole time. Who are the players? What the game actually is, because so much of it has just been what's happening. You know what I mean? And so we have to focus on the leap, and pretty soon we're going to realize who's on the board and what the game is. And I think audiences are going to be excited.
Okay. The other thing I was going to ask you is, we talked last time about how this is kind of your first big role that you've done. Since then, what kind of things have you learned, I guess, from working on the show that you didn't expect about like the acting, job on a TV show? What are some of the things that like you just were so shocked that now you know how to do?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, sometimes the hardest part about the job is not the acting. Like it's everything else. It's the days, it's the the pace, it's the hours, it's the locations, it's the temperature. Like there's so many other factors. It's time, it's what sets do we have available. There's so much to learn how to do, and acting is only one part of the job. You also have to be, to one in particular, but it was 1 and 2, set the tone. And so I want everyone to have a good day, even if it's going to be 14 hours. I want everyone to have a pleasant and warm and welcoming 14-hour day, because that's how everyone does their best work. So, learning how to do that while also learning how to act at the pace and at the level that this show requires, has been some of the biggest learning curves that I've been on, for sure.
Okay, cool. Is there any other guest stars coming up this season that you can talk about, tease, that are coming, other than Brandon, obviously?
I mean, yeah, Brandon was so exciting. It was so cool. I think I told everybody I know that they cast Superman to be my dad.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
Who else? I mean, there's been so many good guest stars. In 16, there's some really just heavy hitters. It's 15 now. Oh my God, they're all starting to blend. Oh, that was good. They're all good.
Okay.
I can't. I mean, it's just too exciting.
Okay.
It's too exciting.
Let me ask you then, who would you like to see guest star? If you were like just to kind of your ultimate dream guest star, who would you like to see on the show next season?
Scott Bakula.
That would be cool. We can hope. All right. Well, I think we're out of time. Thank you. I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
we'll probably talk again next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye bye.